whatever you tolerate, you invite more of. Being bullied or continually inviting low quality people into your personal and professional life. This is something I've always found to be true. If you got people that I had somebody that I used to work with years ago, and it's like every time I saw this dude, he was like, "Oh man, you're not going to believe what happened to me. Sit down." And I'd sit down, and he would start going, "Oh, he would tell me about some contractor that he had hired, or somebody that he was trying to help, and went out of his way to help him, and they just fucked him over." And it was like, for years and years, these kinds of things were always happening. It was like the same kind of story. I was like, dude, you keep giving the same people. In other words, you're trying to white knight people. You're trying to fix losers. It's like these people that like have no track record of being consistent or reliable, and yet he's like the one sucker. He gives them money, loans them money. They're going to pay him back. They're going to do all this work for him, and then they end up taking advantage of him. It was the same thing. There was always something, some kind of conflict, either people that he had tried to help out or people he was doing business with. I remember he'd always be like, "I'm getting ready for a fight." That's like he kind of went through life looking for conflict and believing conflict was right around the corner. It was kind of exhausting.
That same thing kind of happened to me that you just reminded me of that with the money. Back in high school, I had people ask me for $1 and they never gave me that dollar back. God knows how much they owe me, but they owe me the money to this day. So
It's never a good idea to lend friends or family money because almost 100% of the time you're not going to get paid back.
Yeah.
And then when they don't pay you back, they dodge you and they avoid you and they hide from you, and then now that relationship goes down the shitter.
Not even that. You don't want to ask them because you feel like a bother, even though it's your money.
Yeah.
But I did have a friend. We're still kind of friends, but I did have a friend that was low quality, inviting low quality people into your personal. She's just very like, her whole life is based on a relationship, and those relationships are not the best relationships. Like, she's always getting kind of walked over and talking to these guys who don't appreciate her at all. And I think I've spoke about this before, but she would only come around when they would be broken up or they would be on a break or something would happen, and then she's ready to party.
She needs entertainment.
She needs entertainment, and she would come my way, and like, obviously I'm here wanting a friend, and I'm thinking of her as a friend, and I'm like, hey, yeah, let's go, come on, I miss you, like, I haven't heard from you. But then I started realizing it was like a consistent thing, like it was repetitive, and I'm like, okay, can you ask me how I'm doing? Because you haven't asked me once. You don't know what's going on in my life. You don't know what I'm doing, if I'm successful, if I'm going through it. Like, you haven't asked me. And when I speak up about it, she would get mad. She'd be like, oh my God, I have so much on my plate right now. I can't deal with this. Like, I just need a friend and you're not being a friend. I'm like, you're not being a friend.
She sounds selfish.
I know.
No offense to her.
And I'm just like, I'm getting attacked for speaking up about myself. I'm just like, you know what? I don't really think this is a friendship anymore. It's dragging and like...
Energy vampire.
Yeah, it's like, I don't really need that negative energy around. We're still friends and I still care about her, But from
acquaintances, you mean?
From a distance, yeah.
You manage the distance.
Like, I'm just that friend that, like, if you really need me, I'm here. Like, I don't like to be on bad terms with anybody. Like, I don't hate you. Like, I'm here, but at a certain extent.
Same thing with the relationships. I'm sure you guys know people that they seem to attract the same person over and over. The person's different. That each person that they end up with is a completely different person, but yet it seems like they're dating the same kind of person.
Same quality of the
like
person.
If you got friends and they have, they keep dating guys that aren't loyal or faithful, or they cheat on them, or they dick them over, and it's like, they finally break up and you're happy for them. And then 6 months later, they're in a relationship with somebody else. And it's like, even though it's physically a different person, it's like they're doing the same things. Because whatever you tolerate, you invite more of. And if you have a problem standing up for yourself and setting and enforcing healthy boundaries, you'll keep attracting the same kind of people that will violate those boundaries.
Yeah.
It's how you handle those relationships as well. I've caught myself in that situation. Not that I pick the same guy, but I happen to treat the same guy the same way I've done with each and every one. And not
Like what way?
like the jealousy, the childish toxicity, and like insecurity.
He's that way, or you act that way
No,
sometimes?
me. I'm saying this is how I would treat all of my exes, with like constant like nagging at them. And then I question why the relationship's not working, and I'm blaming them. But not until like long ago I realized, maybe it's a me thing. I'm the issue here. They had their cons as well. I'm not making them saints or anything, but you have to sit back and check yourself and realize maybe it's you that's acting some type of way that's causing the relationships to go the same as the other ones have.
It's a learning experience. That's when you realize, okay, like I'm not gonna let this happen again. So whoever comes next, you think that through. Like if you see that the same trend is about to begin, that's when you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not doing this again.
I'm not ready. I need to check myself first. Like
check yourself before you wreck yourself, basically.
Yep.
100%. So I understand those people that have been through the same thing over and over and over. Like,
it's happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened to me, and it's even happened to people I know. It's just a matter of learning experience.
Yeah, learning, growing, maturing, understanding, just being open-minded, just growing, I feel like, as a person.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's no one's fault.
Yeah, if you keep attracting the same kind of person in your intimate life that is doing the same kinds of things, obviously the problem is you. You have that's what I've noticed is the way life seems to work is where you have a blind spot or a weakness is that the universe just keeps sending you people or circumstances that just keep highlighting that same weakness because like it gives you an opportunity to transcend it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy I used to work with that was always trying to help people that really he shouldn't have been trying to help, but yet it's like he didn't get the lesson, he didn't get the message, and yet he just kept spending thousands of dollars on people that because he was well off, but they were always screwing him over, and he'd be so upset and so shocked that it happened to him again, and I'd be like, dude, just 3 months ago you did the same thing with this other guy, and same kind of story. You feel sorry for him, you want to help him out, and then you get screwed over. It's like you're putting your faith in people that haven't earned it and don't deserve it, and then you're shocked at the outcome.
Has he at least had like a good seed, like someone who hasn't given him a hard time, or is it literally everyone?
He was a much older guy too.
Oh God.
So it's like, I think at the time he was like in his 60s, and he still hadn't learned the lesson.
Oh wow.
And he kept attracting the same kind of people. Whether it was people that were doing work on his properties that he had, or people that he hired, or people that came to work for him directly. Like I remember one guy, he had a store, and so he hired this guy to run it. And I remember he called me in the middle of the day. And he's like, I gotta go to the store. He's like, the guy that's managing it. So the guy was a drunk. He was an alcoholic basically. And so he'd opened the store and he'd been drinking, and then he was in the back office. He was the only one in the store at the time, and he was so hammered that he fucking passed out and puked all over the desk.
Oh my God.
And I was just totally passed out cold. And so my friends got to go over there, and it was finally like the last straw, and he fired this guy, and so he has to go over there and run this business that he had put this guy who was totally incompetent in charge of. And then so he's got this other business that now is getting neglected because now he's running this other retail operation that he's got, and he's having to be the store manager until he can find somebody new to replace him. But it was like I just kept seeing he's like he didn't get the message, he didn't get the lesson, and he kept attracting the same people, giving the same people opportunity. And I would even point it out. I was like, dude, I wouldn't hire that guy. He's like, no, that's gonna be all right, man. It's like, yeah, this guy's really.
He sounds
like, all right, dude. And then 3 or 4 months later, like, oh, you're not going to believe what happened, man. Let's go to lunch. I was like, okay, dude.
He sounds like one of those guys that he just can't help but be, I guess, nice. Even though I mean, I don't know if he's aware. You said he wasn't aware of these actions, right?
He was totally aware. He was like, yeah, you're right. And then, 3 or 4 months later, he'd be somebody else. He's trying to help.
So it's self-awareness only. It comes out like he doesn't. It sounds like he has like he just can't help himself, kind of thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He was shooting himself in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Chunky deleting our audio from earlier.
Yikes. Oh.
I do agree with you though, with how life has a way. Well, I say God, but I feel like people are very controversial on that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But I believe God puts people in your life for certain reasons, and sometimes there's people who only have a short purpose. It could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be a year, and then poof, they're gone. You see relationships going downhill, friends or intimate relationships, anything like that. You can see that either they start progressing, meaning that lesson in your life is going well and you're learning, but when it starts failing, that means that person's purpose is done,
Yeah.
And whatever you needed to learn from that individual, you learned it. So he kind of like takes them away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in that?
Yeah, I do.
So in that case with your friend or colleague, I feel like that's maybe what God has been trying to do, but he's really not getting the lesson. So he's going to keep putting people in his place until he gets it.
He put his faith in the wrong people.
Yeah.
He wasn't a good judge of character.
So
it's like he would see the red flags. I would point them out, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's gonna be all right."
Mm-hmm.
And he would get burned. He was like, "Man, you're right. I should have listened to you." I was like, "Might not always be right, but I'm never wrong."
One day, once he gets the lesson, those people won't pop up anymore.
I feel that, God forbid, that it comes to a point where he doesn't change that and it keeps on going. And I also, I use God and the universe interchangeably. But I feel that when you do that, the universe kind of comes to a point where, like, it realizes that, that person is not going to change. And there's times where someone gets, like, that hard hit. Like, if you don't learn, like, something worse can come at you for you to, like, I guess, learn the hard way. At least that's what's happened to me.
Yeah.
That I've had the same thing happen. I don't realize it. And then, bam, next thing you know, something worse comes up, and that's when you realize, okay, I really shouldn't do that anymore.
He's literally smacking you with it, like,
even though you're well aware that, something could happen, and yet you still do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's happened to me.
Yeah.
No.
Get the gift and move on.